changes to the various preferences. So what we need to do now is just to finish off that and just add a few other little things or make a few other little minor changes, and then we can actually start developing our Android applications. So I left the screen open where we were in the previous video. So I'm going to click on the back arrow now and go back again. And this is the main screen now in Android Studio. So from there, we're going to click on Configure. I know that I was already in there, but just in case you closed down, you knew where to go. You go back to Preferences again, open that up. I'm going to close that down. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back and find System Settings and make a few changes. So I'm going to click on Appearance and Behavior first, and System Settings. And you saw in the previous video go through to Updates, but now we want to go into Android SDK. Now this is the new way that you can configure the software development kit in Android Studio. This has changed since the last version, if you've happened to have used this in the past. And you notice that by default we've got Android 6.0 Marshmallow selected, API level 23, and that's installed, and that was installed in the previous video. Now what we can do, if for some reason you wanted to install the older version of Lollipop, you could click on that and Android Studio would then go ahead and download that for you. But I'm not going to do that at this stage. I'm just going to leave 6.0 installed only. The other thing to do now, assuming you've got the same installed, and if you haven't, go back and check the previous video which I showed you how to do that. Click on SDK Tools, and this gives you the specifics that have been installed for the SDK platform, in this case Marshmallow. So what I'm going to do is, you can see by default it hasn't installed the documentation, so I'm just going to click on that. And I'm also going to click on Android Support Library to install that. There's other things here we can install if we wanted to as well. I'm going to leave the rest of those out. We don't really need those, but if for some reason you're developing a type of application that use some of these components, you could click on those and install them. But as they're needed in the course down the track, I'll show you, and you can go. We'll go back into this option and actually update that. In this case, though, they're really the only things we need at this stage. So I'm going to click on Apply. And you can see that Android Studio is saying I'm going to install these components. That's fine. We'll click on OK. And it's going to go ahead and download and install those, as you can see. And it shouldn't take us too long because they are, in the scheme of things, relatively small files, certainly compared to the previous files that we installed in the previous video. And as you can see, we're now done. We're now finished. So that should be it. At this stage, we've now configured Android Studio. We've actually configured the various preferences to make sure that it's working properly. We selected the Java development kit that we needed to access. That was done in the previous video. And of course, in this video, we went ahead and just made a few other little changes to the Android SDK so that we've got all the various bits and pieces that we need to actually use Android with the Android Studio package. And just the other thing to point out just before we end this video, if you click on Launch Standalone SDK Manager, this gives you more fine-tuned control over what you do want to have installed. Generally speaking, you probably don't need to go in here very often, but if you do, if there's a particular feature you want that wasn't showing in that other screen, this is how you do it. So I'm just going to actually click on Deselect All. But you can see for each version, it actually gives you some more options. So for example, the samples for SDK, I didn't see that in the other screen. I don't think the option was showing up there. We went into SDK Tools, samples wasn't showing, it's not showing there unless I'm going blind. So this gives you a few extra options. So if you wanted the samples, you click on Select. For that, if you're going to be doing some Android TV application development, you might want to download the system images. Probably you're not going to use any of that, but the point I'm saying, or showing you, I should say, is that there's another option for you to get into here if you need to. And in terms of installing it, much the same, click on that, making sure you click on Deselect first, so you're not, by mistake downloading or installing something you weren't aware of. You can see there's other options here on the screen. But just to show you that it works, I'm going to click on Samples, Install. You need to click on the heading at the top, and click on Accept License, click on Install. So it actually works the same way in that it's still going to download whatever you've selected and installed it. And in previous versions of Android Studio and with other tools like, for example, Eclipse, which is another way to develop Android applications, you actually have to use this Android SDK Manager, the standalone program. But I actually think this is a lot easier to use. As you can see, it's all part and parcel of Android Studio, and it just removes a lot of the hassles that you had to sort of go through in the past. So you probably won't need to go into this, but I'm just showing you how to do that if by chance you want to go through and have a bit of a look and explore. So you can see that it's now done, it's now installed, and it's now showing that it's actually installed. And just briefly, you can see there's a little drop down to open up a sub-menu for each version. So Android 6, which is Android Marshmallow, API 23, that's all the tools for that version. So I can close on that down. If we wanted to do something with API 22, we could go through there and select that. So that's it. Once you finish, close down and we're good to go. So I'm going to leave this video here. In the next video, we're going to actually make a start and we'll actually develop our